Bill, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, good to see you, Jared.
You too, man. I tell you what, just got through the October 15th deadline, going into November, December prime tax planning, dotting I's, crossing T's season, right?
Yeah, I like the way you said that, dotting I's and crossing T's. We just got through October, and obviously, for various reasons, people extend their returns. And so when we kind of look back at the totality of the season, I feel pretty good about how everything shook out. It feels like no big surprises for our clients. The strategies that we had in place were working, and, for the most part, everything seemed to go pretty smoothly. So now it's kind of time to look forward. And in November and December, it feels like a bare minimum time expenditure for tax planning. If you're not doing it then, much less throughout the rest of the year, then that's a big problem, in my opinion.
100%. I mean, I think this video is going to be released in December, somewhere in there. And so if you're listening to this right now, I guess in December, if you haven't gotten with your CPA or accountant yet and talk through taxes,
right,
you have to do it now, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what we're doing in November, December for what we call our second round, of tax planning with our clients. And so if you haven't talked to anybody yet throughout the year, it's a must, right? You got to get with your CPA, get with your accountant. I would say wrap your hands around what taxes look like for you. Yeah. And maybe you're like, hey, every year it's about the same. Right? My practice does X amount, and this is what I do, and typically I know what my taxes are going to look like, so I'm not going to get surprised. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
If that's the case. But typically there's usually a surprise or something that happens.
You just don't know, and so you're just waiting. The worst thing you can do is have or be reliant on your taxpayer to how much you owe after you file your return.
That's right.
This is something you should know throughout the year, because guess what? That affects cash. And so many times it's so easy to distribute, cash to yourself, invest or, spend it on personal, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes time to pay your taxes, you're like, oh, where's that money going to come from? And so you have to pull more out of your business. And it just really can put you in a very tough situation. So that's why we're big believers is that you start that tax planning process early. You have conversations, you start setting up, cash reserves if you need to, and you get ready. And by the time you have these November and December tax meetings, like for us, it's really more about refining, making sure everything's in place, that it's working, making sure we're understanding what's the most current up-to-date data on the file and the practices, and being prepared. And then by January 15th, you make a decision on if you're going to pay something in or what. And at that point, taxes should become an afterthought. As crazy as that sounds, they really should become an afterthought to what you've been working on the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're that person out there that's thinking, hey, typically I get all my stuff to my CPA and he does my taxes, and you have no idea what the results of that, like you're antsy. You're like, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to owe a chunk, or maybe I get lucky this year. Yeah. Maybe I get a refund. You can't be playing by those rules. Right. Right. You have to be knowing. I always make the joke of when your kids or you guys are opening up Christmas presents before that time, you need to know roughly like, okay, I'm good with taxes this year. Yeah. Or, hey, I owe a little bit more in January 15th, but by then I should be pretty good. Right. I've settled up.
That's right.
And so you guys just need to be thinking through that. I mean, I know taxes aren't fun to talk about, but they're really not fun to talk about when you owe a chunk.
That's right.
And they're really not fun to talk about when they're a surprise. And we just need to be proactive on it. Right?
I think what I would say in parting words is if you are sitting here in November and December and you have not met with your tax account outside of just filing your returns this year, or B, you don't have anything on the calendar for this month or December, that's a problem. And I think it's completely within your rights to hit them up and say, we need to be meeting to talk this through, because this is a big line item when it comes to cash. A big amount that has to go out the door each year. You need to be prepared for it. So demand that proactivity if you're not getting it.
100%. And I'll riff off one more point on that. Like if you're reaching out and saying, hey, we need to meet and go through it, and nothing against other CPAs out there, but if they're like, well, your taxes are going to be about the same as last year, you're good. Ask one more question, like, well, is there a way I can reduce them even further?
That's right.
I'm not saying, we're not a magic bullet firm at all. Like, oh yeah, we can go in and save you X. But we do believe in going through and diving deep to say, hey, maybe there's stuff that you could be doing, strategies you could be implementing into your practice or financial plan that would help you reduce the amount of taxes you owe. And so ask that second question too, is there anything else I can be doing to lower that? And if you're not getting that advice, you got to. As a business owner, taxes are, I mean, they're probably one of the biggest expenses in any business.
They are, for
you
sure.
know what I mean? And so do your homework around it. Do due diligence around it. Try to get those reduced. I know taxes aren't fun. I say it again, but meet with your CPA right now in December before you open up those Christmas presents.
And if you're not getting that service, then find somebody
That's right.
who will. You know, we're happy to talk to anybody if that is something they want to see, if there's ways to look at their tax situation just a little bit differently, a little bit more proactively.
That's right. So, Bill, let's go. Let's get into November, December. Let's talk to all these clients.
Let's get these tax planning meetings done, man.
Let's get them educated.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take
man.
care.